Hey guys, Ronan Will. We're back with another painting video. Today it's going to be Bones from the Star Trek video game, the Star Trek board game away mission. Bones is also known as the Doctor or Leonard McCoy from the original Star Trek series, not Next Generation, which is my preferred series. This is the one that my dad grew up watching. If you didn't see the Kirk episode, the whole idea on why I'm doing this right now is because we have some miniatures for my dad for his birthday coming up, and I figured I'd make a video since we never actually recorded any of the other ones we painted. And my lord, did we paint a lot of Star Trek miniatures. We've gotten so many of them for this game, and this game is maybe just a year old. Anyway, so we started with the platform that he's standing on, which is a combination of wolf gray and plate mail. Then I used just pure plate mail on the name plate on the back. We are now on to the boots, which are using just pure black or matte black. The color scheme that we're using is just based off of the original artwork or the original cartoon. Yeah, well, it was a cartoon too. The original series of Star Trek, which all the Federation characters all had black boots, gray pants, which I'm doing now with necro cloak, and then their shirts are what varied. Depending on what color shirt they had, determined if they were security, science, or what do they call them? Commander, like leadership track, essentially. And Bones, or Leonard, was actually part of the medical crew. So he was a science officer, specifically the doctor, the medic. But they're, you know, the science and research and all that fun stuff. So, like always, we're going to do a few little backstory about the character and stuff like that. So real quick, we used electric blue on the shirt, which gave it that nice bright blue color, and then we end up using some void blue later on to give it some highlights. But Bones was in the original Star Trek series, in the very first episode, episode 19 in 1966. The Man Trap. He was played by, that was the name, that was the character, the person I was trying to figure out. He was originally played by DeForest Kelly. DeForest Kelly. I don't know. Last name I know is Kelly. K-E-L-L-E-Y. DeForest. Interesting. Up until 1991, and then in the new remake of the series, the movie from 2009, Carrie Urban played him. He's kind of like the straight-laced, fatherly type figure. He's, I don't know, it's weird. From the shows, the episodes I've watched, he's kind of Kirk's like sounding board. He's the one that Kirk will go to and talk with a lot. Him and Spock, of course, because it's Spock. But it's kind of a weird combination of the two, and I'm sure most of you have heard at least the joke of either "He's dead, Jim," or "Jim, I'm blank. I'm a doctor, not blank." That was like his two catchphrases. Which he didn't really even say that often. But again, meme culture and all that fun stuff. So, I'm just doing some touch-ups here. I am using gold for his wrist cuffs. I think in the last episode when I was painting Kirk, I mentioned that I feel like these are showing rank because Kirk has 3. He is the only character to have 3 cuffs on his wrists, where everybody else has 2 or 1 or none. So if I had to guess, I'd say Captain has 3, Lieutenant has 2, and then of course Ensign only has, none. Bones is holding a classic tricorder. I know I said that Kirk was holding one in the last episode. That is a comm unit, not a tricorder. This is a tricorder. It is huge compared to the one seen in Next Generation. It also, I love that it has like a leather strap. So like, it's like, oh, this is so big, so heavy, I have to carry it around. It kind of reminds me of like a tablet that, like those kids' tablets that have those big bumpers, so so they don't break it. So instead you have to have a leather strap or a strap so the kid can just carry it around them with them. Anyway, we are now onto the hands. Again, just like Kirk, this is a newer paint system that we're testing out. It requires so much more like attention to detail. Just because you have to really know, okay, if the light's hitting this way, it should be this coloring, and then we want to brighten this up and darken this. It's not bad, it's just a lot of getting used to. Which, after painting 4 models with it, I still feel like I'm nowhere close to being even somewhat proficient with it. And again, I think I'm going to have to sit and play with it a lot more. So, but it does a good job. Like, I like the skin tone. The skin tone is very close to realistic. So, the last thing I do here, because we're actually surprisingly close to finishing up his model's base tone here. We do his hair, which is using Monster Brown. Again, Army Painter, so it's called Monster Brown. It is a very light brown. And then eventually I'll do some highlights using Fur Brown, which has more of a red tint to it. I didn't realize how kind of Donald Trumpy his hairstyle was. But yeah, so that's a thing. So, like I was saying, Bones or McCoy is the primary doctor. He does have an assistant in at least the first season. I haven't made it through the first season of the original Star Trek series. He also had a love interest who, I'm trying to remember what happened with her. I think she ended up getting replaced with an alien. Again, it's been a while, and I was half asleep last time I watched through a lot of the series. So we're using some dark tone just to darken up all those ridges and get it nice and detailed, because they are very, very detailed models, especially those shirts, considering how flat the color scheme for these characters are. The shirts are very, very wrinkly, and you can actually see just by doing quick touch up with that how many pockets you have there of like folded fabric. Alright, so this is our next step. We had to wait a couple of hours. He is dry. You can even see here for some reason the paint on his head, on his hair, did not stay. Which I have to adjust later. I'm starting fresh. This is a couple of days later, so I have to remix all my paints for the stand. This is mostly dry brushing here, just to kind of bring back a lot of that color, because black and gray turns gray. But there's a lot of ridges in there, so you can still get a lot of that detail. We're back with the black for his boots. Honestly, I'm trying to look up some interesting stuff about Dr. McCoy, but other than his famous 2 sayings, there's really not too much interesting with this character. He's kind of a tertiary character, so like he never really had that much development as far as like he's, you know, the rough and tumble type guy. Like, he was always the doctor. He was always that guy who stayed in the background and avoided getting involved. So he had a couple of episodes where he was like active, but again, he's mostly just hang out in the back and hope that nobody tries to kill you. Something interesting, I can't remember what movie it was, but Star Trek, so the original Star Trek had a whole bunch of movies come out. They were all very well named. You had Star Trek the Motion Picture, Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 4, Star Trek 5. You know, they had some names, but pretty much it was just Star Trek whatever. But in, I believe it was 3, The Search for Spock. So technically it's actually 2, which is the Wrath of Khan, and then 3, which is The Search for Spock. McCoy ends up playing a pivotal role at the end, where Spock mind melds with McCoy, basically gives him his memories and stuff, so they can find him in the search for Spock. Other than that, like I said, he really wasn't that much of a active character. He was in almost every episode, but just not doing much in those episodes. So right now it's just trying to get those pants looking good. Unlike Kirk, whose pants kind of had a dynamic pose, so you could really like pull those colors in and blend them nicely. For some reason, Bones has the "I'm going to stand vertically" style of miniature, which I mean, again, as I established, his character doesn't do much more than be a doctor anyway, so it kind of works for him. But it would have been nice to have some type of like action-y pose. So basically, to try and simulate the light bouncing off of the edges of the pants, what I ended up doing is I took some ash gray and drew a line and then feathered it out onto the edges, which is what you can see I'm doing, and then I'm trying to pull it back in some spots that I might have gone a little too heavy-handed there. But yeah, that's the shoes, the flooring, and the pants done. Now we're moving back up to the shirt. Again, we're going over it with some electric blue, which works so much better than the yellow if I don't have to play with yellow, like that type of yellow ever again, I'll be very happy, because it just does not want to adjust. So you'll notice something that I end up doing here is basically removing all of the dark toning that I did. I will leave it in some of the most deepest, darkest crevices, but for the most part I end up removing all the dark toning. Again, this is mostly because of his stance. It's just really hard to get a good tone, like where the dark tone should be. I probably should have also done either a soft tone or a even a strong tone instead of dark toning here, just because of the nature of how this character's stance and everything is. Excuse me. Ugh. Got the hiccups from lunch, I think. Yeah, so he's kind of just standing straight up and down, so that it's hard to really even get the paint into the front cavity there where his arms are away from him. But I don't know, I think I managed to get at least the coloring fairly accurate on his shirt. I end up going in between it. Those cufflinks on there are so hard to get, because Kirk has 3, but they are so tightly like connected, it's hard to not accidentally get golden paint in between them. McCoy works a little bit better here, because he only has 2, so they're spread out a little bit more, so you can get a paintbrush in between the 2 to really make it pop. Alright, so this is Void Blue and Electric Blue mixed together to kind of try and bring up the blue a little bit. And then those super, super bright colors that I just added there are actually just pure Void Blue. I don't know. I think I may have gone a little too light on his shirt, but I kind of like it. I like the bright, bright blues, especially considering Kirk, and you'll see later on, Chekhov has mustard yellow. So it's like, it's a nice contrast. And now this is just some Void Blue that's going on the uppermost section of it, which is why I put it down so low, so I can simulate the sun looking straight down at it, or the lighting being straight down on it, to see what would actually be getting hit and what wouldn't. Alright, and then we are going to be touching up some of the metallic on him. I don't really go too much. I end up just keeping it with a single covering of metallic there. Next, we should be moving on to... What am I moving on to? I think this is next, the skin tones, which is going to be rough. I'm warning you guys now. Oh, I'm dry brushing a little bit of gold onto the wrists. As you can see, I used way too big of a brush, so now I have to go and fix the gold again, or the blue again from the gold. There we go. Cool. I'm trying to squeeze my paintbrush in between there, as well as touch up the gold now. Alright, so this is touching up the necrocloak around his neck. Every one of the characters has a collar that is necrocloak. Again, It's really just the face and the or the skin tone, the hair, and the shirt that they wear that differs. Otherwise, they're all wearing almost the exact same outfits. I'm doing leather brown for the little leather strap that is hanging off the tricorder. Not too much can be done here because his hands are mostly covering that strap. But I do brighten it up just a little bit more. And then I also wanted to try some other options for his hair because, man, that hair, I hate it. I don't know why his hair turned out so bad. I end up eventually giving up and dark toning the hair again and just kind of leaving it. Because the dark tone kind of worked. So we're just trying to touch up again, adding as many different layers of color as possible. Again, for whatever reason, I'm also not patient enough to to let the hair dry. So anytime I add new dry brush layers to him, it's removing the paint on top of his hair. So it just ends up still being a white spot. And here I go again, having to retouch it up. Oh. Okay. I think, yeah. Here we go again. I did get some, it's interesting. On the camera, it looks, you can kind of see the different shades and different colors. In person, you cannot. It is one color brown. And that is it. Let's see. Next is the hands, of course. And I think, yeah, I definitely used a lighter, the lighter skin tone on this one, which is weird because I don't remember doing that. Unless I may have accidentally gotten some of the dark tone onto the skin when I was doing it earlier, which is possible. So, but we're almost done here. We just have to get the touch-ups on the ears and, well, the skin. Really, I probably would have been fine just leaving the skin tone as it is instead of trying to add some shading and coloring and all these special looks to it. But we're almost there. This is, if you're wondering why the camera's shaking, it's me mixing up some of the paints and looking for the paint that I want. So I used the base skin tone mixed with a little bit of, I believe it was called sun-kissed skin, to bring up the coloring of the tops of the hands. Again, looking back at this now, I would have been better off just leaving it the way I had it before I started trying to add like shades and depth. Especially since, I lean more towards like the cell shading, so this really doesn't do much more than brighten up areas that I probably should have left alone. It's also weird, this paint seems to dry a little bit darker. So like, after I put it on him and let him sit for 30 seconds, the skin tone isn't as dramatically bright as it looked when I first put it on. But this is the last section here of the skin tone, which is the brightest, highest points. he is very pale once I add the super bright highlight. However, it works better on him than it did on Kirk. So, again, it's kind of messing around with the paints and seeing where you're at, what you like, what you don't like. So this is a little bit of more orangey to the skin, which I feel definitely helped him look more realistic. Although you can see he's very pasty. Alright, and then I can't remember if I actually show doing the hair again, but no, I don't. I think at that point I was just like, I'll test it out later, which is why you'll see he looks very his hair looks a lot more dynamic in the end result. So last thing to do again is the outer lip. This way we know he's part of the Federation for Star Trek, which is funny because Star Wars also has a Federation, but theirs is the Trade Federation, which is evil. This has the Federation, which is the United Federation of Planets, which is good, or less evil, less corrupt. I don't know what you want to call it. But here he is. Yeah, you really can. And I also forgot to do his eyes on this one, but you can see his eyes are done there. His hair, it turned out really good once I just did another dark tone on it and let it sit. You can definitely see some more depth and all that fun stuff. But that will do it for this one, guys. Till next time, Ron and Will, later.